Are you wondering what you can do to stop the onslaught of bad conduct from the Republican White House, the Republican Congress, from the Republican courts? Well, Susan Berger and I today are going to share with you on Just the Facts some great ideas for taking action that will make a difference. And Susan, do you want to start because you have some experience in controlling stress? And so maybe we can start
Sure.
with that.
So basically, yes, I have some experience, and what's worked for me over the years is I'm a 26-year breast cancer survivor. And when I was diagnosed, I had three little kids and was divorced. There was a lot of stress, but really, and my friends all said, "Why are you so optimistic?" And number one, I always say to people who are under stress, don't think of the big picture. It's too overwhelming. Like if I was going to think of 25 years later, will I still be here? I would have been a mess. So in terms of politics, so maybe we just think about, will the Congress pass this bill tomorrow? And certain things, you can't think of everything with the deportations and the Supreme Court. It is just too overwhelming. So that's one of the things that got me through. And the other thing is to be really informed. I mean, I always say knowledge is power. So the more I read about, my situation was breast cancer, but in politics, the more you know, the better, the more control you'll feel you have with the situation. And I'm also, I've read a lot of history. And if you look at the history of the United States and you really realize what we've been through, we've overcome a lot: a civil war, a fight for civil rights, women's rights, voting rights for women, Vietnam, other wars. And there's been lots of struggles, but there's also been lots of triumphs. And so I think we have to keep that in mind. I know John Meacham, a lot of the historians say that all the time. The United States has been through pretty bad stuff and we've come through the other side. So
Right.
that's sort of what helps me get through. And one more book that I give to everybody I know who is really going through terrible times, whatever it is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And he was a Holocaust survivor. And you might ask, well, how could that be uplifting? It's uplifting. He realized that the only thing he could control was his state of mind. And I think that's what we all have too. I mean, we can control how we feel about a situation. We may not be able to control every little thing, but you can control your feelings. And then there's other tips we have to help do that.
Okay. So let me give some ideas too, which is, let me just say to everyone who's listening or watching, I'm going to put this all on my website as fast as I can so that you don't have to sit here with a paper and pen trying to write down anything or on your computer typing in web addresses. They will be posted. And in fact, they are already posted on the hashtag Sisters-in-Law show notes for the last week. I put some of these anyway in there, and I'll make sure they're on my website, which is just jillwinebanks.com. And one of the things that I want to mention that everyone can do, and don't think you can't. I took a course from Op-Ed Project, the Op-Ed Project. It's a one-day course, and I learned how to write an op-ed. For me, it led to being on television because television producers saw what I had written and thought that they wanted to hear it on television. It doesn't have to lead to that. It just has to lead to your being able to express your viewpoint and to influence someone who reads it. So again, take a class from the Op-Ed Project. It is really a value add. So that's one of the things that anyone can do. You can find them on Google or on my website. And I have a bunch of other things that I want to say. One of them, someone suggested to me the other day, is the most important thing for getting people elected is or reelected actually, is for them to have great constituent services. And of course, with the needs nowadays, they need volunteers to help provide those services. Anyone can do it. It can be done from home, by Zoom, by telephone. You don't have to go into an office, although you could if you want to do that. See if you can volunteer for your member of Congress to help other people get solutions to their problems. Think how great you'll feel doing that. So, Susan, do you have some other specific websites, or do you want to
Well, I do know that well, we have the Capitol switchboard, which is 202-224-3121, and you can reach your senator, your congressperson. It's a great place to call, and the White House switchboard, right, Jill?
Yes, the
Which
White
is
House, absolutely.
White House switchboard. They answer really fast, by the way. 202-456-1414. And don't
And
think
that
that it doesn't matter. It matters how many calls they get.
they do care and they do keep track of it. Let me just say that it's not that easy to find the White House phone number. I had it because I've had it since I lived in Washington, and I had it on a Rolodex. Does anybody here even remember what a Rolodex is? If you Google it, you're going to get a fake number. The actual number ends in 1414. I don't know why I remembered that, but I did, and it worked. I tried it just before we started recording, and they actually answered. And I said, "Is this the White House switchboard?" They said, "Yes, how can I help you?" And so it does work. That is something that you can do. They care about it. And another thing that once you call, what are you going to tell them? Well, you could say you hate the bill that just passed the Senate. And, okay, it's already passed. I don't know what more you can do about that. But you can tell all your members of Congress, people think that federal workers are only in D.C. That is not true. D.C., Maryland, Virginia, yeah, has a lot of them. But 80% of all federal workers live outside that area. So every member of Congress has constituents who are federal workers who are being affected by the cuts in funding, by the firings, and they may want to reach out and take action to help those federal workers. And again, I have we'll give a website that you can reach out to help members of Congress know what they can do to help federal workers who are impacted directly by DOGE and other cuts. That's something important. For Democratic lawmakers and even for Republican lawmakers, they may want to help. That's a big part of their constituency. It's quite surprising to find that out.
Yeah. There's some other things we're all so overwhelmed. And the news is really, it's just coming at you so fast and furiously that you just can't keep up and it's overwhelming. Here's what some of the experts recommend too. Number one, take breaks from social media and news. Just turn it off, go for a walk, do something that you like, go garden, go play with your grandchildren.
Let me caveat that though, Susan.
Yeah,
Don't turn it off. You can take a
right.
break.
A
You
break.
must stay
Right.
informed. You cannot what fascists want is for you to tune out, to be overwhelmed. Don't let them win. You have
Exactly.
to stay on it.
And that's so important. And that's part of the reason that Jill and I started these conversations is because we both knew so many people who said, I can't listen
Yeah.
anymore. And if that happens, what happens at the midterms? We need good turnouts to change this around. But the experts also say, pursue enjoyable activities, reading, gardening, learn a new language. And when you're discussing politics, Jill, you'll like this. Focus
Yeah.
on facts. If you're talking to someone and it's a confrontational conversation, if you keep going back to the facts of the matter, it'll be maybe less heated. Um, Seek balance in your news sources. You know what? I turn on Fox News. I want to know. I want to know everything that's going on. I want to know how are they portraying it, and if just get a variety of news that you trust, and not necessarily from Facebook, but some good sources. And the other thing is you got to be healthy. You got to eat well, and you have to have 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And
Oh, no way. That'll
so,
never happen.
right, Jill is not. She has more.
I'm aiming for 6. That's my new goal,
I
6.
know, but you're bionic, Jill. You have more energy than anybody I know. And the other thing is to practice gratitude. And that sounds so Pollyannish-ish. So there's a grandfather of gratitude. His name is Brother David Steindl Rast. He's a Benedictine monk. And he started this gratitude alphabet. So like if let's say you're waiting in a doctor's office or you have time to kill, start going through the alphabet. Like And I'm going to give you a couple examples like A for animals, B for books, C for children, D for dreams, E every day. F
Yeah,
is
my
family,
dreams are bad, though. What do you do about that?
G for God, home, integrity, joy, kindness, on and on. So, you know what? You have to pay attention to how you feel because these are tough times. They're really tough times.
I don't want to overwhelm our audience with um, the websites. There will be, as I said, they'll be posted. But I do want to mention one for lawyers because, not surprisingly, a lot of my friends are lawyers who are like, I need to help. What do I do? And I found a website through another friend who's a lawyer, Lori Andrews, who's also a author of some really interesting novels in which she is a character because she's both a lawyer and a scientist. Um, but and Susan knew her because of her work on a genetic a gene that was patented by a pharmaceutical company without the permission of the um, cancer patient. Anyway, wetheaction.org is a website that has an amazing matching algorithm that allows you to be matched. If you have an hour or if you have more time than that, you can do a short term thing. As a lawyer, it will link you to either litigation or to other aspects. So that's a really good lawyer's one. But there's a lot of websites for everyone, people who want to work on changing the makeup of the judiciary, changing the makeup of the legislature. Who doesn't want to do that? So those
In,
are websites that we'll post so that you can see them
in,
later.
in some states, there's advocates for the children who are left with their
Yes.
parents being, ripped away. And I just heard an interesting podcast with Glennon Doyle and her partner, Amy Wambach, and they actually went to court. They sat there with these little children. They described, I mean, they said these kids might be alone, but they're going to be supported. They may not have their parents there, but they need people to support them. I know they're doing it in Arizona. I don't know if they're doing it in every state, but these two women went and they sat with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. They put them
In
in
booster seats because they
booster
were too sharp.
seats in the courtroom with headphones. And a 16-year-old, they said, he kept asking the judge, the judge said, do you know where you are? And the 16-year-old didn't think they were in America
Michael RX Banks.
because they didn't think they were in America because didn't feel good. So they didn't even know where they were. The little kids, it was devastating, devastating. And they have headphones and they have an interpreter. And during the court sessions, the interpreter kept walking out into the hallway for 15 minutes. They found out later why. The interpreter could not stop crying with these little kids there. She was trying to tell them what the judge was saying. And the judge was very cool and matter of fact and cold and matter of fact. But there are ways to, I don't know, Jill, if you know how people, if they want to be an advocate for some of these kids, I think there's a way, maybe we have to look into it. But it
I
certainly would be so hands on.
Susan and I will keep up our research and we will consistently post on my website new sites that we find, new ways to help. Obviously, you can call any of the organizations that are helping immigrants, and there are many of them. Very predominantly, Legal Learned at the ACLU has been a hero in this effort. But so have places that are passing out information for immigrants on what their rights are. Now, doesn't help a lot if someone is whisked off the street by a masked man without a uniform or a badge and put in a car and taken away and then flown to a detention center. And we've all seen pictures now of detention centers being built off the Tamiami Trail in the Florida Everglades, desecrating sacred land for the Indians whose property it is, and putting people at risk of alligators, snakes. There are boa constrictors that are in those waters and they're being put in tents. They're not even permanent housing. These are horrible things. People are protesting. And by the way, let's just end with that. Protesting is still effective. I've seen it work. It does make people change.
And it makes you feel better because there's a sense
It
of community
does.
when you're out
It,
there, you see all these people, all different ages, and they're all there for the same reason. You do feel supported. You do feel like
yes.
there's hope out there.
And thank you all for letting us vent our concerns and share with you some of what we've researched. And we appreciate it. And we hope you'll take action, stay informed, be involved, take action, make a difference. Obviously, as we get closer to the midterms, we'll have more information about what candidates you can support and help make a change. Thank you for listening to Just the Facts.